to do Parashat Toldot. In Parashat Toldot, we find the birth of Esav and Yaakov, two children, very different children coming out from Rivka and Yitzchak. Rivka and Yitzchak are tzaddikim, are righteous people, are good people, and for some reason, Rivka has twins, and the twins are very, very different from each other. One ends up being a good boy, Yaakov, the other one ends up being a wild man, Esav. And the question that comes up from time to time in many families is, why is it that kids are so different? But, if they're a little bit different, you can explain. After all, not everybody's the same. But how come Esav and Yaakov such extremes? Esav should be a wicked man, a wild man, especially when the parents are so good. Parents are righteous, and they have such a boy like Esav. Some people even complain. Do they deserve something like this? People tend to forget the most important aspect of behavior, human behavior, and that is called free will. Everybody has free will to become whatever he wants of himself. Nevertheless, you do pick up a lot at home. You do carry somewhat the genes of your parents. So there are other factors that contribute to the mold of the personality, to the molding of the personality. So how does Esav come out from a Rivka and from a Yitzchak? So the simple answer is because the rabbis tell us when you get married, make sure you check out the bride's brothers, because many of the children many times resemble the brothers of your wife. Many traits are inherited. Some you're born with on your own, you have your own depending on your mazal, but many things are inherited, go over in the family. There are certain traits, they're called traits, that are inherited. Certain resemblances, certain things that are transmitted in the family. Just like in Am Yisrael, there are certain traits that are transmitted in the nation, the people of Am Yisrael. Right? We're all by Shanim, Rahmanim, Gomlei Chasadim. In various degrees, we're supposed to be bashful, kind, and what was the other one? Rahmanim. In other words, we're compassionate. Some people less, some people more. But this is something that we've gotten over the years. So Esav, of course, does carry something from Lavan. Lavan is the brother of Rivka. Rivka might be a good girl, an excellent mother, a great wife, but she has a brother called Lavan, and her father wasn't the best man either, Betuel. So the family wasn't the best family, so something is carried over.
But even before he's born, he was bad inside the stomach.
Right, in other words, that particular body, that entity,
So
not the neshama, not necessarily the neshama, even though the neshamot is something else, you still have free will. But you are born with certain inclinations that you have to control. It wasn't bad. You choose to become bad, but you have certain inclinations.
He was in the stomach. How can you go by a bit of idol? He wants to go.
No, that's just symbolic. What the Midrash says that she would go by a place of idol worship, church or whatever. She would feel one part of her stomach moving or shaking. Esav's trying to get out. She would go to a yeshiva, a holy place. Yaakov would have to go out. All of that is more symbolic of what is meant to happen. It's not necessarily so that they knew where they were walking. What? Yeah, yeshiva Shem Va'ember, where they learned Torah, whatever was applicable at the time. Sure.
So had a choice.
Later on, not when he's a baby, but there are inclinations. People are born with different desires and inclinations, different tavot. Some like to steal, some don't care about this stealing from others. They won't think about it. But they like women. Others don't care about that so much. They like to drink or they like to eat. People have different inclinations. Some people have a temper. And some people are very lucky to have all of the above. Oy vavoy, huh?
So bad from before he was born. Maybe his neshama was no good.
No, obviously there's various degrees and levels in neshamot too. And some neshamot are holier and more refined. But nevertheless, it ultimately comes down to bechirach of sheet, free will. You still have free will to make of yourself what you want. And of course, if you have a big yetzirah, you have a big job, a difficult job. Nonetheless, you can decide, I'm going to control myself. I'm not going to succumb to my temper. I'm not going to do this particular averah. What did you say?
Can it be a neshama come into a person, a bad neshama? Is it something like that?
There's no such thing as bad neshamot, but there are less quality and better quality.
So he has a bad quality, neshama.
Yeah, there are neshamot that
so his choice was very difficult.
That of course have a more difficult time, but it also depends on other things. It depends on the body. It depends on several things. It depends on the mazal. Depends on the family, the upbringing.
So he had a choice.
If the parents are good, the friends are good, the upbringing is good, it helps a lot. So that is part of the question over here, is why is Esav turning out to be such a bad person? Of course, we all are aware and agree that he had certain inclinations. But nevertheless, he's coming from Rivka and Yitzhak. They're brought up
So
in
he
a
had
good home.
a choice. He didn't choose this.
Everybody has a choice. Otherwise, nobody.
Yeah.
Otherwise, when you go upstairs after 120, you're going to say, "I had no choice." No. The whole idea of Schar va'onish, reward and punishment, is based on that we have a choice. Of course, people have different challenges.
So his choice was difficult.
Everybody has some difficult choice in some area. Nobody's perfect. So the part of the explanation is, as we said, is the family. Laban, Betuel, that's Rivka's family. That is where you're having one boy being or coming out the way Esav came out, and the other one coming out like Yaakov. However, the other important part in the influence or in the upbringing of a child, we see in this week's Parasha, the Torah reveals to us that the reason why Esav became Ish Yodeh outside is because he was an Ish Sadeh. He was in the field. Yaakov Ish Tam, why? Because he's Yoshev Ohalim. He was in the tent. So it depends where you spend your time. Now you will understand a little bit of why the rabbis were so adamant against going to university, going to colleges. Even today, it's not a safe place, especially if it's a co-ed dormitory. It's a big problem. And you're amongst goyim. Even if you can handle the kosher problem, you can bring your own food. There's a tremendous peer pressure. To be amongst goyim, I hear it from little kids how sometimes when they're in public school for whatever reason, they get beaten up by the goyim because the goy recognizes that they're Jewish. They get picked on, they get discriminated on, so they have pressures. So adults also have different kinds of pressures. Maybe they don't get stepped on, but they're perhaps discriminated against. Maybe they don't befriend them as much. A lot of German Jews trying to erase any Jewish vestige, sign, because they wanted to have equal rights. So there's all sorts of pressures in society. So universities, unless you have no choice, you need to, or you want to for some reason to become a doctor. Therefore, you need to go to college for that. You cannot become a doctor by going to trade school, right? So the only way to safeguard your heritage is to be kovei team every single day. After you finish with class, make sure you're a shahid, you're mincha, you're an abid, you are at shiur Torah, you stick around good friends, Jewish friends, you have a normal Shabbat. If you make your life, your daily routine, a holy routine, a Jewish routine, then the little bit that you are in the college will be neutralized. It's still a danger, it still poses a danger. Anytime that you are amongst people who do not share your values, right, it may become a problem, depending on the yetzirah that a person has. So it's a dangerous place to be. It's not a safe place to be. But if you have to, the circumstances require you to be in such a place, then you got to be very cautious. And to be cautious, you do whatever you can to surround yourself with Torah. So what we understand from this is that a lot of the formational personality of Esav is not only from the family, it has a lot to do with where he spent most of his time with. Where did he run around? Who his friends were. Alright, next point. The next point we find is Mechirat HaBechorah, the selling of the Bechorah. That's the next event that we find in Parashat Toldot. For some reason, Esav decides, you know what, even though I was born first and I'm the Bechor, I'm going to be selling my Bechorah to Yaakov for some food. Does that make any sense to you? For food, he's willing to sell the Bechorah. So the only way it makes sense is if we understand what the Bechorah is all about. Obviously, Esav knew what he was selling. You don't sell something you don't know its value, its worth. He was willing to sell something, and obviously he knew what the value was. Yaakov insisted on purchasing it. Obviously, he had good reason to purchase it. He knew the value. So what are we talking about? What's the Bechorah? The Bechorah is not just being firstborn. Therefore, you get more inheritance, perhaps, when the father dies. No, we're not talking about inheritance. We're talking about the Avodah of Hashem. We're talking about Olam Haba. We're talking about the mitzvot. The Bechorot, had it not been for the Chet HaEgel, for the sin of the golden calf, they would have been working in the Bet HaMikdash. They were the ones that would have been given the responsibility, the very important task and the job in the Bet HaMikdash to do certain functions.
Instead of the Kohen.
Instead of the Leviim.
Or the Leviim, okay.
B'ezrat Hashem, when Mashiach comes, the third Beit HaMikdash is rebuilt, they will go back to the avodatam, to their job, to their function. Every bechor, the firstborn, whoever is the firstborn, as long as it depends. The pidyon would happen. The pidyon bechor would happen only if the mother and father are both Israelim. If one of the two is a Kohen or a Levi, there's no pidyon bechor. Or if it was a cesarean birth, there wouldn't be a pidyon bechor. But there's still some role for that bechor. He's still the firstborn, but does not have the same kedusha as a bechor.
Can I go back? You said
yes.
When you marry a girl, look who her brothers are.
It's important, yes.
Okay, Yaakov married Rachel and Lavan was the father.
Yeah, I'm going to get to that. I'm going to speaking about that's towards the end of the parasha. Just remember that Abraham sent Eliezer. We spoke about the last week. You weren't here. Abraham sent Eliezer to get Rivka, even though Rivka is in the house of Betuel. He didn't want a girl from Canaan.
Yeah.
Why not? Are they any better? It's also Avodah Zarah. Are the midot any worse? Yes, the midot of the Canaan were much worse. At least his family had chesed.
Yeah.
So he wanted chesed in the family. But I'm going to get to that too. All right. So we're talking about Olam Haba. We're talking about the sechar of the mitzvot. And obviously, Esav is not interested. Not interested. Why not? Because the Yetzer Hara, one of the things he does is he convinces man accept cash and not a check that is dahui, post-dated check. Hashem says, I'm going to give you sechar when? Le'olam haba. It's a post-dated check. The Yetzer Hara says, I give you cash. I give you bad benefit right now. Take it now.
Good businessman.
Right? And even when you learn business math, you will come across a term, the cash equivalent of future payments. Somebody's going to give you $1,000 a month for 10 years, or somebody's going to give you $50,000 now. Which one would you take? So you have to figure out which one is better, depending what you can get for the $1,000 at what interest rate, how much that would be over 10 years. You add it all up plus the interest, and you see how much can I get if I put the $50,000 now, but I don't get every month an extra $1,000. How much will that 50 sitting, right? Will it accumulate over time? And you have to do your math. It's simple math, so you can know which one is better. Usually, when somebody offers you the two, they're very similar. Or sometimes, there might be an incentive to do one more than the other. It all depends on the circumstances. Right. Understand? So the Yetzer Hara, that's the way he works. You're going to get the sechar, you're going to get it now. The Yetzer Hara says, yes, that may be true, but just remember how much you're losing out. And eventually, that's an eternal world. This world is a short, very, very short world, life, right, of 60, 70, 75 years. Right? Time flies. Time goes by very quickly. So think about it very carefully. Esav had ta'avot. All he could think about is the immediate, not only immediate need, immediate gratification. And Yaakov was patient. He says, I understand, I like those things too. I like Olam Hazeh, but to me it's much more important Olam Haba. And therefore, when it came to the Bechorah, it was really an argument about the service of Hashem, the Avodat Hashem, the mitzvot. And Esav says, I'm willing to forgo Olam Haba and have and enjoy Olam Hazeh. And Yaakov says, no, I'm willing to forgo this and that. You can't have both. So you can't have both. Which one do you prefer? Yaakov realized that in order for him to do, of course, the Avodah Hashem, he needed to have that title to Bechorah, because the certain functions of Avodah Hashem would require that position, Bechorah. And that is why we're dealing with that Bechorah, and not just an argument, a philosophical argument of Olam Hazeh and Olam Haba. We're talking about its position, but that position involves a major decision of what's more important to you, which brings us to the next point of why certain people are mumarim le'achais and mumarim le'te'avon. You will find those terms in Shulchan Aruch, because you need to know if somebody's, if you can perhaps count him as part of a minyan or not, somebody's a rasha or not, a wicked man or not, in terms of halakha. There's a type of person, a Jew called mumar le'achais. He's a mumar, he's a transgressor, and he does the averot le'achais, to anger Hashem. He knows Hashem in spite. He knows Hashem exists. He knows it's the truth, but he doesn't care about it. He says, no, I couldn't care less. I don't believe it. I don't want it. That's it. Then you have a mumar le'te'avon. Mumar le'te'avon says, you know what? I really would not want to do this averah, but I'm desperate. I want to enjoy this piece of pizza which is tarif, for example, not kosher, right? It's mumar le'te'avon. How do we know he's a mumar le'te'avon? What distinguishes the mumar le'te'avon from the mumar le'achis? A mumar le'te'avon, which means, by the way, just for his appetite. No, le'te'avon, for his appetite, for his desire. What distinguishes them? How could you see the difference? If one regrets doing it. Mumar le'te'avon regrets it. He feels bad about it. He comes Yom Kippur and he just say, Chatati aviti pashati. He regrets it. He says, obviously I know it's not good what I did, and I regret it. That's a siman that this guy is a mumar le'te'avon. He didn't do it in the first place in spite. He did it because of te'avon. But you have people who are so bad that they are lech'is, like apikorsit. They don't want to believe. They don't care. It's not that they have te'avon. You have kosher food. You have taref food. Why don't you just eat the kosher food? You have the two in the supermarket. Why do you have dafka? No, the dafka buys the taref. And you may have met people like that. They're not too many, Baruch Hashem. But from time to time, you may meet an individual like that, dafka. And unfortunately, they exist in Eretz Yisrael. He's dafka going to do the Averah just to prove a point. He has no need for it. That's lach'is, to anger Borei Olam. What's Esav? By selling the Bechorah, and immediately after, the Torah tells us, Vayivez Esav et Bechorah, he makes fun of it, he ridicules it. You see that it's a form of lach'is already. It's not tavon. Why? Because had he not made fun of the Bechorah, you know what could have happened? Later on, he could have told Yaakov, Yaakov, you forced me to sell you the Bechorah. I was desperate. I was hungry and tired. I came home after a hard, long day. So you put me on the spot by forcing me to sell. I wanted to eat and drink. He never did that. He never regretted. He never changed his mind. On the contrary, the Torah tells us, Vayivez Esav et Bechorah. He made fun of it. Why? He made fun of it. The Torah is basically emphasizing this point, revealing this point to let us know that this is what Esav felt about the mitzvot. This was not just your mumar le'te'avon. This was a mumar le'achis. He didn't want to have anything to do with it whatsoever. That is, of course, a person who wants to be totally disconnected from the mitzvot. He shows no remorse, no regret. That is the worst time.
And he still wants his father beracha.
Now we'll get to that. By the way, mumar le'achis usually does not believe in Tchiyat HaMetim.
Oh, yeah.
Usually. Because if he would have any belief in Tchiyat HaMetim and the Neshama comes back, he wouldn't have this mindset. He wouldn't think like that. He would be regretful a little bit. Obviously he's trying to deny everything. And that is the worst type. And that is indicative or is seen in one's actions, like in the actions of Esav by making fun of the Bechorah. Next point. Alright, so finally Yaakov gets the Berachot and he's sent to the home of Lavan to get married there. Getting back to what you were asking. We now know what kind of a person Lavan is. We have experience with him from before. Of all places, this is the worst place to send Yaakov, even though we know that Yaakov is going for a shidduch. And obviously the girls of Lavan might be good girls. But still, this is hostile territory, as it later proves out to be. Yaakov did not have an easy time in the house of Lavan for many, many years. You're right? I mean, you're aware of what happened, how he tried to cheat him, give him a hard time. So why is it Yitzchak and Rivka sending Yaakov to Lavan? Okay, he needs it for a shidduch, but still, it's dangerous. Not a good place to go. So the rabbis tell us like this: כל מי שיש לו מזוזה בפתחו ותפילין על ראשו וציצית בבגדו מוחזק הוא שלא יחטא. Whoever has a mezuzah on his door, whoever wears tefillin and tzitzit on a regular basis, on a daily basis, he has a hazakah. He has some form of guarantee or that he will be protected and he will not come to sin. Why? Because the pasuk says, "Ki malachav yitzaveh l'shmorcha b'chol derechecha." Hashem will appoint malachim to protect of you. Who are these malachim? These are the malachim that you create by the mitzvot that you perform, and they protect the person wherever he goes. Now, it's not a complete guarantee that you will be spared from any sin. You still have free will. But if a Jew surrounds himself with mitzvot, mezuzah, tefillin, tzitzit, he has more protection. That if he sees an opportunity to do an averah, he's not going to jump at it. He's going to think 10 times before he does it. He still might do it at the end, but at least he'll be thinking 10 times. There will be something preventing him, something from giving him second thoughts or third thoughts before he's going to do it. Right? what's the expression in English? A person who has no, not second thoughts, but no, he doesn't care about doing something. He's not moved. He's not in any way disturbed. What? No, his conscience is not disturbing him. There's another expression.
Yeah.
He's not disturbed. He doesn't.
No conscience.
Yeah.
Like a nitrous.
Yeah. He doesn't think twice about it because the Yetzer is used to doing it, and so he does it without any problem. Some people exercise self-control for whatever reason. Either they know it's not healthy, or it's illegal, it's against the law, or it's against Hashem. How could I do it? Right? So a person who surrounded himself with mitzvot, he's protected and doesn't have, without Hashem, will not have as an easy time falling prey to the Yetzer Hara. The same is true over here. Yaakov went to Lavan. It's true. It's a dangerous place, but he was protected. He learned Torah. He had protection. So with that protection, he would be able to withstand the many pressures that he will be facing. As I said before, with universities, depending what you do with the rest of the day, what your routine is. Do you pray every day? Do you go to Shiur Torah? If your routine is a good routine, you have some protection. So even though he was going to a bad place, he had some protection. It's better than no protection. That's number one. Number two, he was going with a clear goal in mind. That helps too. I'm going to get married and then I'm leaving. See, the problem with people who leave Israel and come to America, they claim I'm only coming for a year or two.
You make some money from that.
They end up staying for 25, 30 years. Because they don't have a clear goal. They say, I'm going to try it out, I'm going to see what it's like, And then, of course, they like it, and they see it, and they compare, and they decide to stay. If you come with a clear goal, I'm coming because I need to save $10,000. I'm giving an example. Right? That's it. My grandparents, my father's Aleim Shalom, they moved to America for 10 years or so. Why? My grandfather had a goal. I want to get Social Security. But to get Social Security, you have to work 10 years or 40 quarters. For my old age, I may not be able to work. I need some pension. I need something that I can get, that I can depend on. He came for that, got that, and immediately went back. And that is how they lived. They only had no parnasa in the last years of their life. All they had was that American Social Security. And my father says it was enough to take care of both of them, and they had leftovers to give tzedakah to other people too. Plan.
It's cheap to live. It was cheap to
He
live.
already owned his home. Yeah, two older people, what kind of expenses they have? See, a clear plan. You come with a clear plan. This is what I'm coming for. So Yaakov too. Yaakov came for the shidduch. That's all he came for. He came for shidduch. He ended up staying a little longer because he ended up saying, you know what? I gotta save some money too. I gotta accumulate a little bit of wealth. I might as well, that I'm already here. So he stayed a little bit longer than what he anticipated. And his children, of course, were born already, and he had a family to raise and so forth. But he had a clear goal in the very, very beginning. That helps too. So when you have a clear goal, you have some sort of protection, a good upbringing, you stick around good friends in a good environment, all of that is helpful, even if you're in hostile territory. So that is why he would be able to go to Lavan and nevertheless survive. And he did survive, we know that. There's a story with the Hafetz Chaim. Hafetz Chaim, as you know, published several books, one of them, the Mishnah Berurah. And I think it was the Mishnah Berurah that he had to seek the approval of the censor. They used to censor.
Sure.
And it turns out that the one who was in charge of this was a Jew. But a Jew, what kind of a Jew would be in such a position? A mumar, meaning a person who was a transgressor and who couldn't care less about the mitzvot. So the Chabad has no choice. He has to go see the censor to get his approval. Perhaps something was not right, written in that book against the king or whatever. Anyway, so he goes to the censor. The censor takes a look at who comes through the door and he says, Yisrael Meir. That was the name of the Hafetz Chaim. Don't you recognize me? It turns out they both learned in primary school or secondary school. When they were young children. So the Hafetz Chaim takes a look at him and says, yeah. So that he turns to Hafetz Chaim, just look at me and you. Look at the way you look. You have to come begging me for approval. Look at the way you're dressed. Look what the Torah has got you. Look what you got out of the Torah. Nothing. And look at me. I'm at the highest position. Look where I'm at. Look what my responsibilities are. Can't you see the difference? He was making fun of the Chafetz Chaim. So Chafetz Chaim says, Mashal ema davar domeh, you know what this is like. He says, imagine you're in the street, or he's actually saying, imagine I'm outside in the street, needing to go somewhere, far away, and I see a beautiful, beautiful chariot come by, with nice horses, with a very wealthy looking person sitting in the chariot, and he offers me a ride. Very nice of the man. Wouldn't it be nice to get on the chariot, sit in this comfortable seat next to a nice individual who offered me this ride, instead of having to walk all that distance? And the first thing I did, the Chafetz Chaim tells him, when I saw this and when I heard this offer, is I asked the man, where are you going? And it turned out that he's headed in the exact opposite direction than me. So he turns now to his friend, wouldn't you agree that it wouldn't make any sense for me to get on this chariot? He says, yeah. He says, well, my dear friend, we are both headed in very opposite directions, and I don't intend to join you. You know what that means. Mm-hmm. Anyway, so Yaakov knew where he was headed. He knew his goals. Right? He had protection. That is why he was able to survive well, even in the house of Laban.
And the girls? How come
the girls turned out to be good girls, even though the father was not such a great man. Right? Just like Rivka, the daughter of Betuel, it turns out that Rachel and Leah were excellent girls. Even if the father was no good, the girls turned out to be good.
You cannot compare here. They didn't have brothers, they had brothers.
Sure.
And the brother was bad.
Yeah, they went after the father.
But then, he said sometimes when you marry a girl, look who's the brother.
Right.
Yeah. So
exactly.
The brothers were very bad here.
Right.
The sons of Laban.
Yeah.
But the girls came out good.
The girls came out good.
And the kids of Yaakov all were good.
Yeah, all 12 were yeah, that was a whole procedure that I spoke about before, about the filtering process of Neshamot, which is a different subject altogether. Just that is the time that Kadosh Baruch Hu decided that now the 12 who are all Kedoshim, who are all good, somehow, for whatever reason Hashem knows, that's the way it came out. Somehow Yaakov's children were all good. Now was the time for the Jewish nation to be formed. You needed to filter out all the bad. Exactly. Alright. Next, we'll briefly speak about another important area, and that is the area of the Berachot. Yitzhak gives the Berachot to Yaakov. Esav complains. And what does Yitzhak tell Esav to appease him? He gives him a small blessing, but that's not enough. That does not really appease him so much. He tells him something very cryptic. Cryptic meaning it's not so clear to understand, but it's a very important point. He tells Esav, listen, what I gave Yaakov is really a conditional blessing. He says, "V'aya kasher tarid ufarakta olom el tzavarecha." And the time will come, when you will rule, you will remove the yoke from your tzavar, from your neck. What do you mean when you will rule? He will rule. You just gave him all the blessings, Yaakov. No, there can be a time that you will rule. You know when that is? So the rabbis explained, the commentaries explain, V'aya kasher tarid means when Yaakov yorid et ol haTorah. If Yaakov does not follow the Torah, does not fulfill the Torah mitzvot, then you will rule. So that the blessing that I gave Yaakov, right? So therefore, if the blessings are dependent on the avodat of Hashem, then he better do the avodat Hashem. If he doesn't do the avodat Hashem, then why should he get the blessing? Follow me? So the whole blessing that Yaakov got is conditioned on the fact that he fulfills the Torah and the mitzvot. So V'aya kasher tarid, therefore the time will come, Halila, when Yaakov removes that yoke, the burden. When he removes it, you will remove yours. You don't have to serve him. And unfortunately that has happened. The Jew has been down and the Goy has been up. And when the Goy is down, the Jew is up. They both cannot be up. One is up, the other one is down. That is what we see in the beginning of the Parasha.
What does Ishmael fit here?
No, nothing to do with Ishmael. This is Esav and Yaakov, Edom and Israel. Nothing to do with Ishmael right now.
Yeah, I know, but
right.
Why Ishmael, he didn't get the barakah from his father, did he?
Yeah, he also has a barakah from Hashem.
Yeah?
From Hashem. Right? Because you're the seed of Abraham Avinu, you will have a lot of oil.
But how long for? He's
Until
going to stay forever?
No, until the food finishes.
So he's saying, for sure he's going to stop somewhere.
Everything is going to stop.
For sure.
For sure, of course.
Can I ask you a question?
Yeah.
Why did Yitzchak love Esau? Not in the sense of just love him, not in the sense of him as a son, but love him for how he conducted himself. Love him. Why do you love him?
You want the simple Peshat in the Torah? The Torah says simple Peshat means because he was a good hunter.
But that seems contrary to what Yitzchak was all about.
If you want to go a little, then you have to go a little bit deeper. He must have had reasons for showing love to Esav despite everything. And there are various explanations given by the commentaries. The more common explanation is that Yitzchak intended to have a good relationship, purposeful, in other words, intentional, with Esav, in order to not cause any distance or rift between them, to bring him closer to Hashem, hopefully to influence him. Because he realized that this is a tough cookie. It was obvious in the very beginning.
Almost. Pulled his father asking
questions. Pulled his father, but that's just...
He really loved his father. Am I right?
I'm going to get to that. That's another point.
But it just seems everything that Yitzchak was taught by Abraham with the Akedah,
right.
Everything had to do with Olam Haba,
sure.
Contrary to what how Esav was conducting his life.
Yeah.
So it's just confusing to understand why the Torah talks about the love that Yitzchak had for Esav, and not mentioning the respect he had for Yaakov's diligence.
No, he did respect Yaakov. The Torah is emphasizing, obviously there's some emphasis in these words, that Rivka loved Yaakov, Yitzchak loved Esav. There are several explanations for that relationship. Every father, every mother, they all love their children, almost equally. But sometimes there's a certain relationship that is stronger with a particular child, for whatever reason. It could be the mazalot between them, they just get along better. That's another reason. Or it could be that the father would give more of his attention to one of them for a reason. In this case, the Torah emphasizing that he loved him, he really liked him, is to emphasize that he went out of his way, obviously, to show love. It was not just the natural love of a father to a son. Why does he love more? Why does he love Esav more? So one explanation given is because it was intentional. He meant to give him more attention, just to be mekarev him, to bring him closer, to influence him a little bit more, perhaps. That is one idea.
Esav was blind. He was hiding a lot of things.
And of course, he misled him, and
he was blind. He couldn't see it.
Yeah. Another thing you could say is, as a result of the great love he had for Esav, the Torah is trying to tell us why he overlooked Esav's fault, perhaps. So that's another way of looking at it.
Like David HaMelech would be.
Like with David HaMelech, but not really getting involved much more in the formation or in the education of the child, and just very much liking the child and trying to do everything for him. Yeah. Even though that was not Yitzchak so much. He really liked Esav for what Esav, the good things Esav did do. And one of the things that I haven't mentioned yet, that you all know, that the kibbutz Abayim that Esav had was outstanding, was genuine, out of this world, the best. Anybody ever did something?
But
that was genuine.
But he married Canaanite women.
Right.
How can that love for parents, if the parents from day one instilled in him, you do not marry Canaanite women? Right. How can that be kibbutz?
Excellent. That's a very good question.
How could you
but
say
he
that?
went back and he married from Ishmael.
Right.
How could you say if I didn't marry a Jewish girl? How could you say I respected my parents?
Right. Excellent. That's a very good question, and maybe we'll discuss it in a few moments from now. But that's a very good question. I always had that question too, and I have a little bit of an answer to it. And maybe you'll help me out a little bit. Anyway, so the point of this Vayake Asher Tarid, when Yaakov removed his all, you will remove your all. What does this tell us? Why should Yaakov ever remove his all? Why should a Jew ever remove his burden? Why has the Jewish nation sometimes fallen? And part of the answer to that is Jewish pride. In order for a Jew not to fall, not to lose track of who he is, his identity, to continue to do the Torah mitzvot, he has to be proud of who he is. The rabbis gave us for good reason every morning the berachah that says Shelo Asani Goy. That we should be proud, we should be happy. Because people sometimes complain it's hard to be Jewish, but it's not hard, it's not true. If you know how good this is, the mitzvot for you, that it's for your benefit, then you realize that it's not a burden. It's for your benefit. It's for your own good. Be proud of who you are. If a Jew is proud, he will never think of being a goy. You know where you see this? You see this with immigrants in this country, especially with the Spanish. Take a Spanish immigrant, his child. Try to speak to him in Spanish. He'll tell you, speak to me in English. I don't know Spanish well. You don't know Spanish well? They're surprised when I speak to them. I know better than them and their parents. So I tell them, be ashamed of yourself. What happened to your Spanish? And they confess to me. When we go to school, we would be discriminated. We had to learn English. We wanted to forget our Spanish.
You want to, yeah.
Even though our parents spoke to us in Spanish, we answered back in English. Mm-hmm. So there was, of course, various reasons of why they wanted to forget the Spanish, but part of it was feeling second class. They didn't want to be reminded you're Mexican, you're Spanish. They wanted to speak English fluently, without an accent. Mm-hmm. And I see this, unfortunately, in Eretz Israel too, there are certain classes of people who feel lower. I'm not going to mention names of these classes, it's better not to, but you will understand on your own. There are certain classes of people amongst Am Israel that feel that they're treated as second or third class in Israel today. And when I see them in yeshivot, they try to become like the upper class by dressing like them, by speaking like them, by praying like them. And I go over to them myself, and I show them how I know their customs just as good as they are, and I behave like them too, with the lower class sometimes. And they're surprised. And I tell them, why don't you be yourself? Aren't you proud? You should be proud of this. What you have is certain holy customs and traditions that are much better than this. What you claim is an upper class, a higher class. Says, yeah, but there's a lot of pressure because we can't get jobs so easily. They look down on us. They look at the color of our skin, right? I understand a little bit of what their mentality is, but it's wrong. You have to be proud of who you are, And I'm sorry, if they would be proud, they would never come to this problem like Tarid. Why should I remove? Only because you're not proud. So a Jew has to be proud of who he is. Like this, he will not get into trouble. Alright, the next point is the mitzvah of Kibud Avayim that we spoke about. Esav had a tremendous Kibud Avayim for his father. That is what the Rabbi tells in the Midrash. He used to dress like a king. This mitzvah was almost just about perfect by him. So he was very good, very strong in this area. Now, to try to understand this a little bit, we have to know that the part of the reason why Hashem commanded us to honor our parents is because by honoring one's parents, you will honor your tradition, and you will remain Jewish. Part of honoring our parents is also in order to enable us to have Ahavat Hashem. Why? If you love your parents, you respect your parents because they feed you and they clothe you, that will help you understand and respect and love HaKadosh Baruch Hu even though you do not see you. By knowing that He takes care of your needs too. Just like your parents take care of you, by you respecting them, honoring them, giving them the kabod, loving them, that will help you do the other mitzvah, et Hashem Elokecha, who also provides for you and deals with you like a father to a son. That's the type of relation we have with Hashem. So Kibud Avayim is a springboard to the mitzvah of Ahavat Hashem. If that's the case, then Esad, that was so perfect in Kibud Avayim, why didn't he ever get to Ahavat Hashem? So the answer to that is the Rambam. The Rambam tells us that the Goyim, if they kept the 7 mitzvot b'nei Noach, they have Chalek Olam Haba. That's only in condition that they did it because Hashem tzivah, because Hashem commanded. If they only do it because it makes sense, they don't have the same reward in Chalek Olam Haba. Only if they do the 7 mitzvot b'nei Noach because Hashem tzivah, Hashem commanded so. Why? Because when somebody does it because Hashem tzivah, it's very, very different than if he does it on his own, with his own mind. He builds a relationship with Hashem. The rabbis tell us, therefore, Gadol ha-metzuveh ve'oseh mi she'eno metzuveh ve'oseh. You have two people doing a mitzvah. One is commanded to do it, and one is not commanded to do it. Who gets a greater reward?
The one is not commanded.
You would think psychologically the one is not commanded. Alayni w'larasi, I do it for you. No problem. Isn't he better than the other one who's being commanded to do it? Right? Yeah. Who shows more love? The one who does it on his own. No. The rabbis says, Gadol ha-metzuveh ve'oseh. The one who's commanded is greater. Why? Because whoever is not commanded and does it on his own, maybe he's owed today, maybe he won't do it tomorrow. He's doing it because it makes sense to him. Maybe he likes it. Maybe he's inclined to do it. Maybe he loves to do it.
Only this one.
This, not that. It doesn't show any love for Hashem. The true love is the person who does, you know why I'm doing it? Because Hashem tzivah alai.
Even if I don't.
Umrak, as we say now. You commanded me, I do it as you commanded me.
No.
Right? Not because I feel like it. No, it makes sense to me. It's nice, it's easy, it's cute. No. I do it because בגלל שהשם ציווה עליי. זה גדול המצווה ועושה ממי שאינו מצווה ועושה. One who's not commanded, it's very nice, but maybe he likes it, maybe it's easy to him, maybe he just enjoys it. No, one who doesn't because he was commanded to do it, that is great. He's on the higher level and he gets a much greater reward. Why does he get a greater reward too? Because one who's commanded has a challenge, has a nisayon, to do it or not to do it. One who's not commanded doesn't have that challenge. Doesn't feel like doing it, doesn't do it. So one who has a commanded, one who has commandment, he has Yetzer Hara, it's heavier. It's heavier. His reward is also greater. So that is the story with Kibud Avaim, with Esav. His Kibud Avaim was very strong, but it was not L'Shem Shamayim.
But he wants somebody.
It was not L'Shem Shamayim. So in a way you are right. It was almost perfect, but it was not 100%. It was not for the real reason. L'Shem Sivan, because that's what Hashem wants. He was just a good boy. He loved his father, figurehead. He was a principal for him, perhaps. And he did a great job. But that's not sufficient. You have to do it because Hashem Sivan, because that's the right thing. Hashem wants it to be so. And that would have helped him a lot more. Otherwise, you're right. If there's no Torah behind it, he could slip out. He could disappoint his father in some other area. A husband, for example, that cheats on his wife, could he still love her? If he knows that herb will hurt his wife, then how could he do it? It hurts his wife. No, but I still love that wife. That's not 100% love.
No.
If you know it hurts her, how can you do it? Would you do something to somebody that you love that you know that it hurts him? No. Either you love him or you don't 100%. So you still like him, but it's not 100%. Right? No excuse. Whatever excuse you give is not enough. If you know in advance that this will hurt, and she would not agree to it, then how could you do it? Unless you admit, you know what, I don't care so much. Oh, okay, fine. That's different. But you cannot say, I love her very, very much, and do something like this. Very different. You see where things get off. If the Torah is not there to anchor the mitzvot, then a person can be very, very good, but sometimes he might do something which is totally against his father's wishes. Even though he loves his father, he didn't respect his father. Alright. Let's talk about the last point of the difference between Yaakov and Esav is that the Torah tells us Yaakov was an Ish Tam, whereas Esav turns out to be
simple.
Whereas I'll talk about it. Whereas Esav turns out to be a hypocrite. What is Tam? Tam means sincere or complete. He doesn't lie, doesn't cheat, and Esav turns out to be a hypocrite, a savua. Where do we see that Yaakov? Where do we see that Esav is savua? Because it says Ish Said, and they tell us Said Befiv. That he used to lie to his father or mislead him. Whereas Yaakov Ish Tam, he would always say the truth. Yaakov is known as Ish HaEmet. This is a very important difference between these two of them. Why is this important? Because even if a person sometimes does fail in some area of the Torah or in some mitzvah, his Yetzer Hara overcame him. He succumbed. Whatever. If he's an Ish Tam, if he's a Adam Amiti, if he's a truthful person, sincere, then he will regret what he did, as we said before, like Imumar Letavon, and he will be Hozer B'Tshuva. What's required for that? Truthfulness. Why? Because when a person is truthful, he's Modeh Al Hashmiyot. He will admit his mistakes. That is one of the most important midot in Hazara B'Tshuva. For a person to do Teshuvah, for a person to recognize Sheyesh Borei La'olam, he has to be first willing to admit his mistakes. Imagine somebody that lived for 60 years of his life going in the wrong direction. Now, you mean to say I lived 60 years doing the wrong thing? Believing the wrong thing? Yeah. You know, it takes a lot of guts, a lot of courage to say, tear it up. You know, and start again. That's, you know, I mean, all these years, all this waste of time. Imagine a person who puts on tefillin, and when he's 80 years old, he finds out that they're pasul. You mean for 67 years I was wearing tefillin? It's the worst, it's a terrible feeling. You gotta check your tefillin from time to time. Not as often as mezuzot, by the way. Hopefully once, twice, three in your lifetime will be sufficient. Unless, of course, you wore them right after a shower. They can get wet. So don't do that. Don't wear your tefillin right after a shower. That's why it's not a good idea to take a shower early in the morning. Unless there's a lot of time between that shower until you put your tefillin on your hair, or if your hair is dry. Because, you know, the dampness may cause problems. Same thing with mezuzot by the kitchen door, or any door, exterior door where the rain may come. Those may need to be checked more often. That is why we put plastic around it. The dampness shouldn't get to it, otherwise you may raise the stone. Anyway, people who are not truthful, who do not admit their mistakes, they have the most difficult time doing teshuvah. They won't admit. Nothing is wrong. Everything is okay. Everything is perfectly fine. The same is true with a tzavua. What's a tzavua? What's a hypocrite? A hypocrite does certain things on one hand. On the other hand, he does other things. He lives a contradictory life. To live a life of contradictions is a hypocritical life. How could you do that? Who does that? You see even people who are Hasidim, Tzaddikim maybe. They look like it. They're not real Tzaddikim. They have long beards and they have the whole garb. And they look like Talmidei Chacham. They look like even rabbis and saintly men. But inside they're completely rotten. And people come to me surprised. I heard he's in jail. I heard he was caught doing this. I heard that he cheated. I heard that he stole drugs. The rabbi, with the long beard, the white long beard, how could he do something like that? And I had a secular guy ask me in the street, stop me once. You see? The rabbi, I say, wait a minute. Don't you know that he also has a Yetzer Hara? Why, only you have one? And only me? That man has a Yetzer Hara too. What do you expect? He's an angel? He wouldn't be down here. Just because a person wears something and he has a beard, the Yetzer Hara leaves him, lets go of him, and says, bye-bye, I don't know you? Everybody has a Yetzer Hara. I mean, the beard, of course, he didn't shave for a number of years, and the beard grew long.
But we said and
the beard is nice to have, but the beard is not a protection. No, the beard is not a protection. Not the beard. And even if you did everything, all the mitzvot, you're still no guarantee. Okay? A person can fail. Every person can fall. No matter how great he is. The greatest people have fallen. Because there's no guarantee. The Yetzer Hara is there all the time until you die. Everybody he disturbs in a different way. He knows according to the weakness of the individual. Okay? So therefore it helps a tremendous tremendous amount if a person is at least truthful and recognizes his mistake and he regrets what he did, then at least he can get up and correct it and say, Hatati aviti pashati, get up and, hopefully start, not waiting till Rosh Hashanah Kippur, but starting from tomorrow. This requires a tremendous amount of courage. Yaakov Ishtam, the Torah is revealing to us a very, very important point about his character. But that's not necessarily something that he had with him when he was born. It's something also that he developed, that he was always truthful. He always kept his word. Even in business, even if he was living and doing business with a cheater, the captain of cheaters, the head of the cheaters, Lavan Haravi, the king, and he could have cheated. He's cheating me, I'm going to cheat him too. No. And when they had an argument, Yaakov gave it to him. I didn't cheat you. Anything that was my fault, I paid for it. And Lavan couldn't answer him no, because Lavan knew the truth. That a person who's truthful, people respect him, and he will always have a reputation of being a truthful person, a good person, and they will want to do business with him. You never lose from being truthful. But don't be naive either. In other words, if you see that this man is about to cheat you, it doesn't mean that you should let him. You have to take measures to protect yourself. And to tell the authorities if necessary, and to not let him cheat you out. Don't just be tam, meaning, it's okay, everything will be okay. No. There are thieves out there. A lot of thieves. And some of them may have long beards too. So the Rabbi says, kabdeo v'chashdeo. Everybody you see, everybody you meet, respect him, but suspect him. Be careful what you do. Don't give him your daughter right away. Don't just let him sleep over your house either. You don't know him. Eat maybe, but sleep, who knows? He might steal something in your house, and the next morning you don't see him. He disappears, like there've been stories. So you got to be very careful. But the midah of emet has nothing to do with all of this. A person can still be truthful and lead a truthful life in every respect, even if you live among bad people. That is a tremendous challenge, but that is the way, the Jewish way. Is continues to be truthful. One who does that is mekadesh shem shamayim barabim too. And of course it's a tremendous chinuch for his children too. A father promises something, he better keep his promise. And a child should never learn that it's permissible to lie. Tremendous important midah, and more important than anything else, as we said before, it helps a person also l'chazor b'tshuvah shlema.